my wife said. I spent our savings on surgery while you were gone. Call it my sacrifice. She unveiled her new face the day I returned from my year-long deployment. I just looked at the empty bank account. I said nothing. My lawyer loves the photos my army buddies sent me. Her boyfriend is also a soldier. Don't miss the twist. Subscribe and be part of the journey. I, Jacob, 33, male, had been with Madison, 30, for 6 years, married for 4. We lived a life dictated by the rhythms of the U.S. Army, a life of temporary homes and long separations. Our current station was Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was a sergeant first class in an infantry unit, a job that earned me a steady $65,000 a year. Madison was a freelance graphic designer, a career that gave her the flexibility to move with me. Our joint savings account, a fund of over $50,000 that I had painstakingly built from my combat pay and re-enlistment bonuses, was meant to be the down payment on our forever home. The day I returned from a grueling year-long deployment in Eastern Europe, I came home to a stranger. Madison had a new face. While I was living in austere conditions, she had been indulging in a series of expensive cosmetic surgeries. The woman who greeted me at the door was a tighter, more polished version of my wife, but her eyes held a cold, triumphant gleam that I had never seen before. Her announcement, framing her vanity as a sacrifice, was the first indication that the betrayal was not just financial, it was absolute. The photos my army buddies had sent me over the past few months, pictures of her, with another soldier at local bars and restaurants, had already told me part of the story. I just didn't know the full, devastating scope of it until I saw our empty bank account and the stranger wearing my wife's face. Update 1. A week before my return, I had received a major career opportunity. I had been selected for Warrant Officer Candidate School, a highly competitive program that would transition me from an enlisted soldier to a commissioned technical expert. It would mean a move to Fort Rucker, Alabama, and a significant increase in pay and responsibility. I had called her from my overseas base, my voice full of excitement. Her response had been strangely tepid. Alabama, to go back to school, she had asked, her voice flat. It's a huge step up, Maddie, I had explained. It's a real future for us. I'm just not sure I'm a good fit for the Officers' Wives Club, she had replied. It all sounds so traditional. Now, standing in our half-empty living room, I understood her lack of enthusiasm. She had already made other plans for her future, plans that did not include being a warrant officer's wife. Update 2. The confrontation was quiet, cold, and devastating. After her grand unveiling, I went into our home office and logged into our bank account. The $50,000 was gone. In its place was a series of large withdrawals to a cosmetic surgery center in Raleigh. I walked back into the living room, my laptop in my hand. The money is gone, Madison, I said, my voice quiet. I told you, she said, fluffing her newly styled hair. It was an investment. In me. In us. Our house fund is gone, I repeated. We can build it back up, she said with a dismissive wave of her hand. You're good at saving. It was in that moment that her utter lack of remorse, her profound selfishness, became brutally clear. I've accepted the selection for Warrant Officer School, I said. I'm moving to Alabama next month. I'm not going, she said, her voice sharp. I know, I replied. I'm going alone. My lawyer will be in touch with you about the divorce. I then placed my phone on the coffee table, opened to the first of many photos my friends had sent me. Her, laughing, with another man. I think you'll have plenty to keep you busy here, I said. Update 3. The fallout was a masterclass in deflection and victimhood. She told our mutual friends that the stress of my deployment had changed me, that I had become cold, distant, and unsupportive. She painted her affair as a cry for help, a result of my emotional abandonment. I did not engage. I moved my belongings into a small, temporary room in the barracks. I spent my last few weeks at Fort Bragg methodically preparing my case for the divorce. I worked with a military lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense captain who had seen this story 100 times before. We filed for divorce, citing adultery, and submitted the stack of photos as evidence. My move to Fort Rucker was a fresh start. The warrant officer program was the most challenging thing I had ever done. A relentless gauntlet of academic and physical tests. It was exactly what I needed. I was surrounded by a new cohort of soldiers, all of us focused on a shared, difficult goal. I was not a victim. I was a candidate, a future leader, and I was rebuilding my life from the ground up. Update 4. My new life in Alabama was a study in focus and discipline. I excelled in the program, graduating at the top of my class. I found a new sense of purpose and a new family in the tight-knit community of Army aviators. Back in North Carolina, Madison's life was unraveling. Her lover, a staff sergeant from another unit, was married. His wife, armed with the same photos I had, initiated her own divorce proceedings. The affair became the subject of a command investigation. Adultery is a crime in the military, and the consequences were severe. I heard through friends that he had been demoted and was facing a possible discharge. Madison, her new face and her empty bank account her only companions, had been forced to move into a small, cheap apartment off base. The glamorous life she had envisioned had evaporated. Update 5. After graduating, I was assigned to a new aviation unit at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. My new rank was Warrant Officer 1, and my new salary was over $100,000 a year. My company, the private aviation firm that supported our training, ran a feature on my class in their corporate magazine. I was quoted in the article, and there was a photo of me, smiling, in my new flight suit. The article, a quiet testament to my resilience and success, was a stark contrast to the sordid mess Madison had made of her life. The email started, sent to an old account I rarely checked. She was sorry. She had made a terrible mistake. She had been manipulated by a predatory man. It was a story I no longer had any interest in reading. Update 6. She appeared at my new apartment near Fort Campbell. She had driven for hours, a final, desperate act. She had lost weight, and her expensive new face looked tired and worn. "Jacob," she said, her voice soft and trembling. I was a fool. I know that now. I stood in the doorway, a quiet, impassable barrier. "What do you want, Madison?" "I want us back," she said. "I can move here. I can be a good Army wife. I've learned my lesson." "You didn't learn a lesson," I replied, my voice calm and even. "You just suffered the consequences. You spent our future on a new face for another man. You didn't make a mistake. You made a calculated, selfish choice, and you lost." I told her I had met someone, a fellow warrant officer, a pilot. It wasn't true, not yet, but it was the final, clean cut I needed to make. The hope in her eyes died, replaced by a dull, empty resignation. Update 7. Her final move was a legal one. She contested the divorce, demanding half of my future income and retirement, claiming her emotional distress during my deployment had led to her poor choices. My lawyer found her claim laughable. In military divorce court, adultery is not a minor detail. It is a significant factor. He presented the evidence of her affair. He presented the evidence of her dissipation of our marital assets on cosmetic surgery. The judge not only denied her claim for spousal support, but ordered her to repay her half of the $50,000 she had taken from our savings. Her attempt to profit from her betrayal had left her in debt. Update 8. A year later. My life was a world away from the one I had left behind. I was a successful pilot, respected by my peers and my commanders. I was dating a woman named Sarah, a flight medic I had met on a training exercise. Our relationship was built on a foundation of shared experience and a quiet, profound understanding of the sacrifices our profession demanded. We were building a real life, one based on honor and trust. I received one last, long, rambling letter from Madison. She was working as a waitress, struggling to pay back the money she owed me. The letter was a sad, pathetic litany of her regrets. I read it, then I threw it away. Final update. A few months ago, I was at a ceremony on base. My old commanding officer from Fort Bragg was the guest of honor. After the event, he pulled me aside. "I saw what your ex-wife did, Jacob," he said, his voice quiet and serious. "And I saw what her lover's command did to him. Justice, in the Army, is not always fast. But it is thorough." He looked at me, a look of profound respect in his eyes. "You handled yourself with honor. You focused on the mission. You became a leader. Your father would have been proud. His words were the final, quiet validation of the path I had chosen. The lesson I had learned was one that every soldier knows. You cannot control the battlefield. You cannot control the actions of others. The only thing you can truly control is your own integrity, your own commitment to the mission. A life, like a military career, is built not on what you are given, but on what you earn through sacrifice, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to the things that truly matter.